Welcome to Cinemagna. In today's video, we will showcase the cast and crew interviews of the 2023 American science fiction comedy drama film titled Landscape with Invisible Hand. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel to be notified when new videos are released.
Yeah, the biggest thing about this movie that made me want to jump on board was the sci-fi, honestly. I'm a huge fan of sci-fi movies, except this isn't necessarily one of those where it's in the traditional sense. We're not we're not coming in blazing at the aliens. We are trying to reason with the aliens through art. So it's an interesting take on it, but I think one that a lot of people would enjoy. Yeah, I play Adam Campbell. Adam is he's a loner, man. He is. He has no friends. He's stuck with, or not stuck with, he loves them, but honestly, it kind of sometimes feels like he's stuck down there on Earth with, his mom and his sister. And yeah, I mean, really the biggest thing that's in his way is trying to figure out how they're going to survive, The aliens kind of completely wiped out everything that us as human beings are used to, so he has to adjust. So we're in 2031. What has happened? Well, aliens touched down on Earth. Apparently, they had been watching us for 50 plus years before they made themselves known. But yeah, they touched down, and essentially what they tried to do was say, okay, we can provide you guys with some resources, and in turn, you guys won't ever have to work a day in your life again because our machines are, just automated. They kind of make everything a lot easier. And what ended up happening from that was, well, you just gonna have to see. Aliens actually saw how we were destroying our own planet. And we're like, we need to come in and save these guys, which, honestly might happen any day now in real life. His family really doesn't have anything. Nobody's working, and it's not even really just his family. I mean, that's kind of how the conditions are for everybody on Earth. So there's a shared experience, and I don't know, we kind of end up we end up forming a love story out of being broke. He's Adam's classmate. They eventually, become romantic partners. And yeah, they meet at school. Chloe has an idea because she's just as broke as Adam. She was just living under the bridge, and I don't know, I think Adam was being a little thirsty and invited her to come live at at his house with them. So, they start filming a relationship, start forming a relationship around that. And Chloe has the idea to broadcast their relationship to the aliens. Basically start a TV show about their love, so that they can make money. And yeah, they start making bank, but at what cost, I think Mr. Riley sees potential in Adam from the first day that he walks into that art classroom, because Adam is already very passionate and very eager to be able to just create, he's been doing it since he was young. And Mr. Riley is a character where he doesn't necessarily know how to bring those elements out of himself, which is why he decides, okay, this kid got it. He knows what he's doing, so let me try to foster that. Let me try to nurture this. And I kind of see, or, as Mr. Riley would say, I kind of see this kid being somewhere someday. I feel like I'm just quoting right out of the screenplay now, but, seriously, we've lost a lot, for real, in these past few years. And, none of us knew that it would be like this, but, I think that we've quickly realized, quicker than it might take a lot of different species to adapt, but we quickly realized, we can't just sit in bed all day like we wanted to when the pandemic first started. We kind of got to figure out how to dust off our shoulders and, get back in the ring. Adam was living the life before the Vuvv came. He was, he was, young, naive, and had a great family, great household. They weren't struggling. But, especially when you're young, something like that is flipped completely on its head. You start to question a lot of things about reality, about what's really real, especially if things can be snatched just like that. So, yeah, he's marching forward. Kylie's hilarious, and she doesn't even know it. She has the funniest little mannerisms, and I always make fun of her for it. But, no, she's great. She's great. She's I don't know, we've become good friends throughout this process, and yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, hopefully we get to work on something else one day because she's super cool. She's very detail-oriented, and that's something that I really enjoy, because he kind of makes the process of shooting way less stressful, honestly. Yeah, and honestly, he's just a good guy. He's cool. They can expect to be talking about it for a while, you know? Because I think it feels like one of those movies that, like I said, nobody's ever seen anything like this before.
I'm really into things that are like sci-fi and, you know, stuff like that. And I really liked my character's sarcasm. And I see a lot of myself in Natalie, so that's why I was really interested in this role. Natalie's very sarcastic, and I think she's over this whole Vuvv alien takeover situation. And I mean, if I were her, I would be too. The Vuvv have taken over and invaded our home, our planet, and now everybody's just trying to adjust to that. And as a result, a lot of people have lost their jobs, a lot of people are struggling to get by, so it's not a very good situation. I kind of liked Chloe's character up until, you know, she kind of, you know, broke my brother's heart, but I liked her character. I think she was really sweet. And I don't know if Natalie likes her character too much. I think Natalie and Beth always kind of had a bad feeling about her, I feel like. I don't think Natalie likes any of the Marshes, to be honest. Like, I don't think she likes the fact that these random people are living in her home. And I think she's definitely mad at Adam because he's like, yeah, you guys can stay as long as you want. And she's like, Tiffany is great. She's obviously really funny. It's a lot of fun working with her. Before she came to set, it was fun, but I think when she came, she definitely, you know, lit up the set, made it a lot better. Yeah, it's a lot of fun working with her overall. Offset, we're always, I'm sure she mentioned this, but we're doing cheer together. I'm teaching her, you know, cheer. And yeah, she's a lot of fun. Asante, he definitely feels like a brother to me. He's really cool though. He's also really funny, and I love the way both of them act. Like, I really like how Tiffany can really bring herself to her character, and I really love the way Asante acts too, and yeah.
So Landscape with Invisible Hand is the story of a young man coming of age and falling in and out of love in a world that has been taken over by aliens. And the unusual thing about this alien invasion is that these are not big, scary, powerful aliens that have taken over the world by force. They're kind of weak, funny-looking, annoying bureaucrats that have taken over Earth through their economic power. So it's a story of kind of economic colonization or a free market alien invasion, and the humans trying to hold on to what makes them human in that world. So yeah, what I love about the opening scene is that we really tried to convey this tonal balance of really sort of normal, everyday struggles, butting right up against kind of these insane alien visuals. So we start with Adam just painting in his backyard. His sister Natalie is gardening in their emptied out suburban pool. So that's something a little bit strange, but everything seems relatively normal until this giant floating real estate development kind of rears into view. And then we spend the rest of the first 10 minutes or so just really quickly acquainting you with the particulars of the world. We wanted to leave a lot of things unsaid, leave a lot of mysteries for the audience to sort of discover through the rest of the movie. And it was especially important to me that we don't see the alien for quite a while. I wanted people to get very comfortable in the world of this movie before we throw these really bizarre alien visuals at them. So Adam is a young artist, primarily a landscape painter, although he also draws portraits and sketches and is kind of discovering his voice as an artist. And he's doing all this while also trying to keep his family afloat in this increasingly economically desperate world, and also trying to pursue this first real love with Chloe, this young woman he meets at his school. He's trying to kind of balance all these objectives, and I think he's sort of the perfect protagonist to take us into this really strange upside-down world, because he's just a young guy, and like many teenagers, including me at that age, he's very, very concerned with authenticity. So Chloe is a young woman who comes from a family kind of like Adam's that was once very comfortable. They were kind of a middle-class family, and they've taken a very, very sharp nosedive in their fortunes since the Vuvv have landed. And because she's kind of suffered a little bit more under this new regime. She's sort of seen how dark the world is more than Adam has yet up to this point. She's a little more battle-hardened. She's a little bit wiser. So I think she genuinely feels some kind of real love toward Adam. They do have a very sort of pure, innocent love story for the first act of the movie. But as time goes on, Chloe has to sort of teach Adam some difficult lessons about balancing what one wants to do and what one needs to do. So the Vuvv want humanity to join their kind of peaceful intergalactic economic empire, but because they have such powerful technology and manufacturing capabilities, really the only thing that is unique within this empire about humanity is humanity's ability to love. And that's what fascinates the Vuvv. That becomes their main kind of cultural export to the Vuvv. The Vuvv are the Vuvv reproduce asexually, so they have no concept of human love, of human attachment, and so these things are very exotic and very exciting to them. And the savvy humans on Earth that want to continue to support their families when there are no jobs, when human productivity is rendered irrelevant by Vuvv innovations, the only thing that humans can still sell is what makes them human, their love, their compassion, and these other kind of exotic commodities that the Vuvv are not used to. Courtship broadcasting is an important part of the Vuvv human tourist ecosystem. And this is where human couples will willingly project their courtship, their dating, for Vuvv that are paying by the minute to watch them. Yeah, I thought what was really radical and interesting about M.T. Anderson's book is the way that it does subvert this, these sort of alien invasion tropes. So rather than the aliens coming in with power and force and being these big scary aliens, this is the story of a purely economic takeover. Aliens that just come in and have very strong industry, very strong productive capacity, and cause Earth to be just sort of a part of their economic empire. I'm a big believer that humor and darkness work best together, that humor and emotion balance one another out really well. And this was a story that if you treat it one way, it's very, very dark, intense story. It could go maudlin. If you treat it another way, it could go totally bizarre and over the top and kind of farcical. And what I loved about the book was the way that it didn't fall into either one of those extreme tones. It really did a wonderful job of being funny and sad and disturbing at the same time. So that was something that we were aiming for with the movie. We really wanted to use this kind of deadpan, anxious, uncomfortable humor to kind of cut the darkness and seriousness of the world and of the themes. So I'd really wanted to work with Asante ever since seeing him in When They See Us, which was kind of his breakout, Ava DuVernay's limited series. And he just broke my heart. It was so human and so subtle. And I had a meeting with him and talked about this character, talked about the world, and just the way that he was relating to the character and kind of understanding the themes of the movie. It felt like he would just be a perfect collaborator in telling the story. I love his just natural presence. I think he has such a magnetism on screen. And he has this wonderful ability to just, as the character needs to do, to just kind of stand tall in this world where everything is crumbling around him. He has this amazing kind of just sort of personal strength that I think shines through even despite his young age. I've wanted to work with Tiffany since Girls Trip. I really think she's a comic genius and also has this real dramatic chops as well. And I think this was a really fun role for her that really let her flex those comic instincts, but also did ask her to carry a real dramatic weight, and I think she did a fantastic job with that. I think our actors made this wonderful, convincing family, which is always important in casting, and it was a real joy working with all of them. So this movie really came together during the COVID pandemic in what felt like a pretty hopeless time, and one of the things I really loved about M.T. Anderson's book was in this very still sort of cynical, truthful, dark way, it still offers a hopeful message about what art can do, about the purpose of sort of expressing yourself artistically and the importance of staying true to who you are. And I thought there was something very oddly hopeful and very sort of beautiful within this very dark, cynical world about the notion that what makes us human fundamentally is something worth defending and worth holding on to in the face of adversity. I hope audiences come away from the movie having enjoyed it, having laughed, maybe having cried, having been provoked, and I just hope that it starts conversations. I hope that it gives people a new way of talking about some of the strange aspects of our contemporary world. And I hope that it gives people some amount of hope in the ability of our human race to overcome and to hold on to what is central to us. I worked really closely on the design of the alien with Eric DeBoer, who's a brilliant visual effects supervisor. I had seen his work on the movie Okja. He'd kind of conceived and built the amazing visual effects Super Pig in that wonderful Bong Joon-ho movie. And I knew that I needed a collaborator in bringing the Vuvv to life who could really allow us to sort of suspend our disbelief and create a certain level of photorealism, but also create something that felt really unique, really strange, and that almost had a slight deadpan humor even baked into its design. And so we settled on this idea of a Vuvv whose kind of core property is they can talk with their hands or they can walk around, but not both at the same time. So very early on in the process of developing this movie, I brought on Gene Park, who'd been one of my really long-time collaborators. He's an amazing, brilliant, sort of outside-the-box sound designer. And he and I worked closely on developing a language for the Vuvv first. And Eric DeBoer, our visual effects supervisor, told us this was a very unusual, but for this project, very appropriate order in which to do things. He said that usually you create the creature, you make this detailed VFX model, and then the last thing that happens is you come in and animate the roars or whatever sounds it makes. And in this case, they really did need to have a language. These creatures essentially needed dialogue, not just grunts and alien sounds. And it needed to sound really irritating, but in a way that kind of, it was painful to sit and listen to these things, but also kind of fun in a perverse way. And they needed to sound intelligent, but sound nothing at all like any animal on Earth. And so Gene and I worked with a very talented Foley team that did a lot of experiments with sandpaper and coconuts on rocks, and we just devised all these bizarre, very kind of analog sounds that Gene then processed and chopped up and edited in all kinds of ways to create something that felt very real and kind of low-tech in an appealing way, but also really alien and really bizarre. So I worked closely with Lyle Vincent, my longtime collaborator and the cinematographer of the film, to develop a unique look for the movie. The movie is all about kind of humans trying to remain human, trying to hold on to something that is nostalgic, something that is pure in the face of a world that is changing very quickly around them. So we really wanted to move away from some of the kind of visual tropes of science fiction. We did not want this very clean, sort of blank, white, pristine, metallic look that a lot of science fiction movies have. We wanted overall this kind of homey feel to the movie. So in everything from our color grading with our brilliant colorist Tom Poole, to the set design with Sue Chan, to the way that the camera moved, we really wanted a look that could certainly be beautiful, but a look that had a certain humility to it or a certain groundedness to it. That felt very true to the story and to the kind of themes of the story. So I really wanted to work with Sue Chan, our production designer, because she has a really interesting and unique resume. So she had just come off of Shang-Chi, which was obviously kind of epic filmmaking of the largest, highest caliber kind. And she'd also done a movie that I really admired called Shirley by Josephine Decker, which was a much more intimate, kind of wonderfully strange, particular haunting movie. So I knew that she could work in these very different registers very comfortably. So Sue Chan and I did a lot of world building together because the job of a production designer involves a lot of asking questions and interrogating the rules of the world in order to make decisions about everything from wrappers on trash that you see lying on the street to the degree of breakdown in a dilapidated house. All these things are decisions that the production designer and director have to think very carefully about. And Sue just did a wonderful job and brought so many kind of unexpected ideas and flourishes to the world, and really helped me narrow in on certain kind of world building decisions.
It's about a year and a half ago that I got a call from Jeremy Kleiner from Plan B, and he described this project that had a really quirky, weird sort of character in it, and he set up a call with me and Cory Finley, the director, and the rest is history. Working with Cory has been a blast. His sensibilities are really quirky and fun, and figuring out how this character that we're adding to this movie is going to look, function, emote, has been a spectacular process and really fun. Cory's initial brief was just basically to look for a creature that was sort of illogical, weird looking, not your typical alien for sure. Something that sort of still could emote, something that still had some appeal, but also that sort of came across as something that had a surprising intelligence. But just in the book, M.T. Anderson describes them as rocky coffee tables. Now, of course, that doesn't give you a lot of options. But we started looking for an illogical, weird creature that was not your typical alien, that communicated by rubbing its paddles together. And that basically just sort of, would be a worthy opponent and a fellow actor to our live action actors. Describing the Vuvv, that's a funny question, because one of the things that sort of in my mind I always try to do before we start on a project like that is like, what is going to set this apart from other stuff that we've done? What is going to make this unique? How are we going to approach this? Very often when we're dealing with CG characters, they are either predators or they always have some strong references to nature, reptilian or mammals. There's always something from nature that we reference, that inspires us, and that we want to sort of incorporate in these designs. And this time around, one of the things that I wanted to try and do is create this creature that was not something that we hadn't seen before, because that's sort of almost always sort of part of the direction at the beginning, but just something that was really hard to describe. So for me to describe them now in an eloquent or logical way, that would sort of defeat that whole purpose. So I guess you'll have to see them for yourself. But there are some pretty weird and illogical things, just like we set out to design. Yeah, so the movie has quite a few big set pieces. One of them is the floating city, where basically the wealth of the Earth and the planet has sort of traveled and been transferred to. And there's also a moment in the movie where Adam travels to the mothership and joins Shirley there to look at his art that he created and that has been transferred there. Now, these pieces are partial locations, actually sort of big chunks locations, but we also have some green screen and blue screen work in there where we do set extensions and we build the world a little bit further out than what we can find here on Earth. So the floating platforms are this feature where all the wealth from this planet, from Earth, has been transferred to, and it's this luxurious, sort of lush environment where the rich and the luckier people on this planet have transferred to. And Chloe and Adam take this shuttle up to the floating city. This comes into a docking station, which is a location that we will extend and turn into more of a transport sort of hub. And then there's the floating city itself, which is this big island of obsidian. And this obsidian rock is something that Sue Chen, our art director, came up with, and it sort of became this representation or a symbol for Vuvv technology. This is not your typical sci-fi movie, and we don't really need to explain how certain things happen. I think it's sufficient to just sort of hint at this overwhelming technology, this really sophisticated world that these Vuvv have brought to this planet and disrupted our economies with. But this obsidian will be like a symbol or a representation of that technology. It allows things to float and to hover, levitate, without having to introduce complicated propulsion systems. And we see that obsidian in the mothership tunnel. We see it in the floating city as its main base.
What I love about it is that oftentimes when movies or stories about advanced alien races come in, they're often portrayed as being maybe more enlightened or, more, and I think this takes the idea of, the Vuvv, I think, are very much sort of a Milton Friedman-esque economic, the market, the markets are always right kind of mentality, and I think they are very, the way they see not just the world, but all the worlds, all the galaxies, is that, the markets are always right. It's an extreme version of late stage capitalism in which everything is commodified, and it's just an extension really of taking those ideas that we've seen on this world and applying it to a sort of multi-universe or galaxy, taking it to the extreme. Chloe, Mr. Marsh's daughter, I think is a little more pragmatic and driven, ambitious, and is figuring out how to play by the rules and how to, to make it work for her. A courtship broadcast is something where humans broadcast their mating rituals to the Vuvv, and it's really just, I think it seems like an extension of reality TV, where people love to watch other people's lives, and the question is, well, how real is that? How performative are people being for the camera? Tiffany is a force of nature, and she has this incredible energy on set where she does just the right amount of joking and, keeping everyone up and energized, and then as soon as action is called, she's completely focused and in it, and just very alive. And it's an amazing gift, because sometimes I think I can either be joking with the crew, or I can be just in my waiting for the scene. She seems to be able to do that both. It's something I really admire. Asante is so cool. What a cool guy, man. He seems to really have a great sense of himself, which is something, I don't know how old he is, but he just seems to have this really solid head on his shoulders. He's always reading, off in our little tent, and but then playing and joking, but he just seems to really know what his path. He seems very focused, and just really seems to know who he is, and again, one of those actors where I just feel like he's just so in it and real. And
honestly, I was really excited about the sci-fi aspect, and just the fact that it was written based on a book. I thought it was really interesting. When I was younger, I went through a weird, really random sci-fi romance novel phase, which I thought was very specific to the script. So it made me something inside me was oh my god, lit up again about it. I play Chloe Marsh, and I would describe her as a smart, innovative, not aggressive, but a go-getter sort of. I feel like she cares a lot more for her family than she lets on. I feel like her family, they're always all kind of fighting, but she wants the best for them, and I think she will do anything to make sure that her and the people she cares about are good and set in life. Ooh, the world that this takes place in is crazy, and these aliens have come and they hover over us constantly, 24/7, and they've kind of just completely ruined everything, and they think they've made it better, but they've ruined a lot, and then they've also divided the people of planet Earth entirely, even more so. They've divided them, and the rich people, they can go live up top, and the people before that would have had a respect on Earth now have lost that respect completely and entirely, and the world is just kind of it looks like there was a war. Everything's dilapidated and just down to its bones basically, and it's a struggle for sure. I would describe Adam to be a very sweet, thoughtful, artistic person. I feel like he feels emotions a lot more than Chloe does, which comes into play a little later, which is a little sad, but he feels things a lot. I don't know if that makes sense, but he's very empathetic. I think she does genuinely like him, but I think to her and her mindset, because she is less emotional than Adam, I think she sort of puts making money for her family first, which she literally says in a scene, but I think she truly does like Adam a lot, but I think at some point she realizes maybe he is into her more than she is into him, and I think that is kind of what like puts her back a little bit and is like, maybe we shouldn't do the broadcast anymore, because I think a part of her just feels bad. So a courtship broadcast is when two people, they have these, in the movie they have like nodes, and they can either like get things from the Vuvv or they can broadcast signals to the Vuvv. So they start basically doing live streams of them like going on cute little dates, like totally like glamorized lifestyle, like pretending the earth isn't like falling apart. And the Vuvv, it's kind of like a TV show for them. They watch and they get money from it. But working with Asante is the best. He's super funny. We're both always sleeping, generally. We both sleep a lot in the green room. But he's super fun to work with, super funny, very cool. Tiffany's hilarious. I haven't worked with her much. I've only worked with her 2 or 3 days, but she's so funny. Every time she's on set, every single person is just like laughing the whole time. Cory's great. I think he's one of the nicest directors I've worked with. He's so sweet. Yeah, he really knows. I appreciate him because he really knows how to speak to his actors. You know what I mean? He knows how to talk to people in general. He's just a very understanding person. And if you want to change a line or add a line, or you want to do something differently, he's always open to like anything you want to try. And I think it's so great to have such an understanding, outspoken director.
Oh, Cory is amazing. He is a gem to work with. He's very open to communication. We've been running ideas by each other. It's been a great experience working with him. He's a wonderful director. He knows exactly what he wants, and getting that direction from him has been wonderful. Well, early on, I realized quickly that this was his brainchild for a while, and he knew exactly what he wanted to do. So early on in the conversations, it was really just making sure that I understood what he was trying to create and how he wanted the characters to look. My mind immediately went into futuristic looks, and you know, it was just making sure that we were on the same page as far as what he was looking for. On Earth, it's more of a lower class families that are on Earth, so I wanted to make sure that I capture the lack that they were experiencing on Earth, opposed to in the upper world, where they're a lot more futuristic, they're a lot more polished. So for the Earth look, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't make them look too homeless and dirty, but also that you can also look at it and tell that we're telling the story that they are experiencing lack on Earth. So the people in the upper world are very chic. You can tell that they are benefiting by being in the upper world. They have a more cleaner look about themselves, a lot fresher, futuristic for sure. Oh wow, it was definitely a challenge. So with the brows, normally when we're blocking out brows, we're blocking out brows to create drag or an illusion. So this time around, blocking out the brows, we had to make the brows look like skin. So it was a lot of work that went into it for sure, and a lot of testing that went into it as well, just to make sure that we were able to get exactly what Cory was looking for.
I really wanted to capture the mood of the present. And I think what that is like we all spend our days trying to sell ourselves now in one way or another. We're trying to sell ourselves all the time. And yet also at the same time, we feel like the wealthy are floating above us, not even knowing what our lives are like. I think of the book as a science fiction satire. So yeah, this is set in a world where Earth has essentially become like a financial backwater in an alien race's like giant galactic financial empire. So we're just sort of like here to have our resources extracted, and yeah, so everyone is trying to deal with that. Adam is an artist. He is kind of a sensitive kid who has watched his world be colonized, and he's trying to make sense of that. Well, the Vuvv are very interested in making a profit off of Earth. They think that we're very adorable, though. That's not necessarily a good thing. Well, I mean, in a weird way, the Vuvv kind of almost own us. They are so financially powerful. Their money is so powerful that, yeah, we have to do all sorts of things to dance around to be part of their system. The Vuvv are really interested in human romance because they just reproduce through some sort of like weird asexual means. So they're super interested in romance. So they want to watch us fall in love. And so people actually rent themselves in a sense so that the Vuvv can watch their relationship develop. But what I really feel like is all of us end up doing this, sort of performing our own lives now. You know, if you think about social media, all of us are sort of curating a life, making a life that's like an artistic object because we want everyone to feel like, we're successful, you know, we love our wife or our husband more than anyone else, that kind of thing. So there is a way in which we all currently are producing a fake life that looks a lot like our real life. And the anxiety of that was one of the things I was really trying to capture. I hope that people find in it a reflection of this moment that we're living through right now, and that people can say, oh, this is sort of how I feel right now. I feel like I'm trying to turn my life into something that I can sell to my friends, so that my friends think that I'm leading the perfect life.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and comment on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when new videos are released.